Overseas travel can be a risky business. Very risky indeed. Mind you, I'm not talking about that almost insignificant risk of being caught up in a terrorist attack. A 1 in 16.5 million chance doesn't seem very risky. These odds seem infinitesimally small, but they are not zero. This was driven home to us recently when a bomb was found in a car in Times Square, New York, on the 1st of May. Only 24 days earlier, we were wandering around Times Square and attended a show just around the corner. Foreign travel can be deadly risky. But what of the much shorter odds you face in overseas travel? When your once and only trip to a city is marred by rain, or interrupted by unforeseen events, or delayed by unreliable transport. Often our holiday experiences seem to depend more on the fall of the dice or the turn of a card. Not all unexpected happenings are bad, however. Some are fortuitous. Some even become later conversational pieces. Such was the case when our double-decker bus was stopped at an intersection in Washington by police. We sat and wondered why the hold-up. Our annoyance turned to curiosity when we saw President Obama pass by somewhere in a 14-car cavalcade, preceded by a police bike escort. The ambulance at the rear of the cavalcade confirmed the presence of the president. But what if our bus had been stopped for no good reason? Like what happened to us outside the Capitol building in Washington. This time there was no president whisking by. Was it a drill or a false alarm? We will never know. Sometimes you are lucky and can be in the right place at the right time. But then there is always the risk that you'll be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Timing on holidays is a very risky business. Good planning can sometimes help, as it did with us arriving in Washington in late March, just when the cherry blossoms were appearing. Their appearance can be fleetingly short, just a few days, or the blooms can last up to a couple of weeks. Timing is everything to see Washington in bloom. Cherry blossom time in 2010 was very welcomed. Only 48 days before our arrival, the city was buried in up to 60 centimetres of snow. With such an extended winter, we were at loss what balance of warm and cool clothes to pack. Do you bet on it warming up and struggle through the odd cold day? Or do you pack warm clothes as well? Packing for holidays can be risky business. Another chance card to fall was the day we chose to tour Washington in the trolley car. Whilst passing the mall, we saw the annual Kite Festival. The next day the mall was back to normal. That transitory day was just a flight of fancy till next year. Even with careful planning, your overseas trip can suffer unexpected consequences. The Cherry Blossom Festival draws thousands each year, and although we were in Washington the week prior to the festival opening, there were fellow tourists everywhere, not forgetting the hordes of school kids on their pilgrimage to the country's founding fathers. Sightseeing can be very time-consuming. Waiting in queues for hours for a few minutes' view amongst a jostling crowd is one of the risks of the tourist experience. Even with our fast-track New York pass, we had to wait in line for 1.5 hours before it was our turn to rise to the 86th floor. Sometimes you need to employ an alternative strategy to reduce the risk of an inordinate waiting in queues, like what we did when we saw the half-kilometre line to enter George Washington's house. We chose to explore the grounds of the property and then to take a cruise on the Potomac River. After these diversionary activities, the queue had shrunk to only half an hour's wait to view the house. Finally, the shortest odds of all, the weather. During our stay in both Washington and New York, The chance of getting a rainy day was better than 1 in 3. Not good odds for a tourist getting around on foot, or in open-top buses to see mainly monuments, parks and buildings, and to take river cruises. Fortune smiled on us during our stay in both Washington and New York. Only 1 day in 13 was rainy. For once we had beaten the odds.